G'day, welcome to Navadia. I found an article online by the, of course, wonderful AIG. And I keep seeing this wonderful woman, Godless Granny. She keeps commenting on it. And I thought, you know what? She's pretty awesome. I love her. She's great. So I thought, why not ask her if she wants to help me out with a couple of the debunks of this article? I would like to introduce you to Godless Granny. Don't forget also to like, share and subscribe this video and also for her as well. So go over, say hello and tell her that hello is from me.
When I first saw the article about sinful animals, I wondered what they had done that got AIG's ire in labeling them as sinful. The picture of the giraffe made me wonder if they were going for homosexuality. After all, homosexuality is common in giraffes. The actual percentage of them that display this behavior is estimated between 20 and 90%. Part of the reason for the huge discrepancy is disagreement over whether some behavior is sexual or just males exhibiting dominance over other males. But alas, queer giraffes is not the subject of the article.
You sold me queer giraffes.
My next thought was to look over the list for lungfish. If any animal deserves the label of sinful, it's these guys. These fish are what broke the creation myth for me. Yup. I was once a young Earth creationist, but I gave up young Earth creationism long before I gave up my faith. The myth broke for me when I visited the Shed Aquarium in Chicago and saw these guys. Fish with lungs made it easy to see how a creature could evolve from a fish to a land-dwelling creature. But alas, lungfish didn't even make the list. Instead, we are talking today about the platypus. Nervardia is handling the evolutionary parts of the article. I'll stick to my area of expertise, the Bible parts.
The majority of the article basically explains what a platypus is, so I won't actually bore you with it. Most of it is actually weirdly, scientifically and historically accurate, except for this bit.
If the platypus evolved, we would expect to find transitional forms in the fossil record. Yet platypus fossils, which have been found as far as South America, vary little from their modern counterparts. The only difference is that today's platypus has degenerated from the early, more robust platypus. Recent evidence shows that platypuses lived at the same time as dinosaurs, a finding that fits perfectly with the creation account.
Thank you, Not Your Witness, for that sexy voice. And by the way, that's what Granny said, not me. Please go and subscribe to him, and me, and Granny.
Subscribe to us all!
Let's go back a bit.
If the platypus evolved, we would expect to find transitional forms in the fossil record.
Hang on there, mate. If the platypus evolved? Transitional forms? Okay, I know it's been explained to you 500,000 times that there's no such thing as a transitional fossil, because if there's a species, it's transitioning from the species that came before it to the species that will come after it. But yes, I know you have a financial reason to ignore the science. God damn it, why am I so morally obliged not to lie to my audience? Yes, I will occasionally get something wrong, but personally, morally, I could never grift. Why is honesty so badly rewarded? How did they degenerate? Did they get smaller? Lose their teeth? The problem with this is that evolution doesn't degenerate. It adapts. If a group of animals is isolated from the rest of their species, they will change over a long period of time. Depending on the selection pressures, they can become larger, such as the giant dormouse that was found on the island of Sicily, and that was the size of a house cat. It was huge. Some species become smaller, such as Homo florensis or the hobbit, which was found on the Indonesian island of Flores. The reason for these changes depends on the situation. For example, resource scarcity could lead to smaller animals or a lack of predators in which an animal will become bigger. They haven't degenerated. They've adapted to become more viable according to their situation, and to suggest otherwise shows a fundamental lack of understanding about evolution. In regards to the fossil in South America, I found an article on Monotrematum sudamericanum, a species that was around during the Paleocene epoch and is related to the platypus. This epoch started around 61.6 to 66 million years ago and ended around 56 to 69.2 million years ago. It was found in Argentina, which would suggest that monotremes lived on the supercontinent of Gondwana when the continents of South America and Australia were connected via Antarctica. The ancestors of mammals, therapsids or therapsids, I couldn't figure out which was the best way to pronounce it, first appeared about 285 million years ago. That was near the beginning of the Permian epoch and well before dinosaurs arrived. These were mammal-like reptiles with fur but still laid eggs. Around the time the first true mammals evolved, which was 200 million years ago, 85 million years after therapsids appeared, the monotremes, or egg-laying mammals, split off from the mammalian lineage before the evolution of the placenta. This was actually around 166 million years ago. Currently, the oldest discovered fossil of the modern platypus is around 100,000 years old. Just in case you're wondering what a mammal is, it is an animal that has fur, produces milk through mammary glands, and with the exception of marsupials, they give birth through a placenta. Why the monotremes didn't evolve a placenta, we don't really know. So, knowing all of this, you can start to see why the platypus evolved.
Every time an evolutionist looks at the platypus, I think God smiles. Think about it. It has a bill like a duck, a beaver-like tail, webbed feet like an otter, hair like a bear, claws like a reptile, lays eggs like a turtle, and has poison like a snake.
To be honest, I couldn't figure out how the bill evolved, but it does show examples of convergent evolution. It has electrosensors to detect electric fields emitted by underwater prey in a similar way sharks find their own. Electrosensors have been found almost exclusively in aquatic or amphibious animals because water conducts electricity much better than air. The platypus is a semi-aquatic animal, which explains the webbed feet and claws. To be honest, the tail doesn't look anything like beavers other than it is flat and round, which helps stabilize beavers in the water, but for platypi, it's just there to store fat or to help the females incubate their eggs. It is a monotreme, which is why it has thick fur. It is a relic of the therapsid ancestry. It lays eggs because it split from mammals before the placenta evolved. And the venom, not poison, is explained very easily. It is only produced by the males during breeding season, which researchers suggest it's a territorial adaptation. If you know anything about evolution, the platypus is pretty easily explained as to how it got here. In fact, because platypi and echidnas are the only extant monotremes, their genomes are very interesting to evolutionary biologists. This is because they are somewhat of a time capsule for mammalian evolution. When the platypus genome was decoded in 2008, it provided many clues to the function and evolution of all mammalian genomes, according to a Nature paper, which was contributed to by a team of over 100 scientists. The reason why I think Kenny Boy and his crew think that the platypus is so sinful is not because of their weird mashup of different phenotypes, but more because it is so useful for the research that supports the evolution of mammals, which started 285 million years ago and is continuing on to today.
This crossover is interesting, though. The article says, the platypus is Ken Ham's favorite animal. Every time an evolutionist looks at the platypus, I think God smiles. Think about it. It has a bill like a duck, a beaver-like tail, webbed feet like an otter, hair like a bear, claws like a reptile, lays eggs like a turtle, and has poison like a snake.
Oh, God! As a person who owns snakes, they aren't poisonous. They're venomous. Venom is injected, poison is ingested. Different things. Sorry, Granny, please go on.
After learning about the platypus, perhaps your evolutionist friend will acknowledge the creator's design. It's interesting because it grasps that taking different parts of different animals and just sticking them together would be proof of creation, not evolution, an idea that Kent Hovind can't seem to comprehend.
They crossbreed all sorts of different ways. But you know, they never crossbreed a horse with a cockroach. Have you noticed that? Or a pine tree. If horse evolution really happened, it's very simple. Breed wings on the horse and fly around the track in 12 seconds.
The article then suggests that now that your friend has accepted that a God created everything, that you tell them about the God of Christianity and suggest several Bible verses to use, because at the core, everything is about proselytizing. The first passage that they suggest is Romans 1:18 through 32. I won't read the entire passage, but here it is. The first two verses read, For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. So the suggestion is that you talk to your friend about how cool the platypus is, and then about how your God created them, and then, oh, by the way, my God is really angry about all the sin on earth, so you better love him and worship him, because if you don't, he will send you to hell forever. And I don't know why I'm telling you this, because you actually already know this. And I know you know this because my Bible tells me that you know this. And my Bible is always right. So clearly, you know this. If you claim that you don't know this, you are suppressing the truth. And if you suppress the truth, God will torture you for eternity. You aren't suppressing the truth, are you? Now, if you live in the real world, one of two things is likely to occur. If your friend was already a Christian, your friend will agree with you. They will assure you that they aren't suppressing the truth and that they understand and agree. All is well. But what have you really accomplished? You just threatened your friend with eternal damnation for no reason. You could have just asked if they were a believer, and this is the good result. Another possibility is that your friend is an unbeliever. Now you've threatened your friend if they don't agree to believe the same as you. If your friend did this to you with their religious beliefs, would you just believe your friend and cast off your beliefs and accept theirs? Of course not. More importantly, what are you doing to your friendship? Is this any way to treat a friend? To insult their beliefs and tell them that they know that you are right? I'm not saying don't talk about your beliefs. I think everyone should talk about this. When I was a believer, I talked about it all the time. This hasn't changed since I left the faith. I just play for the other team now. I wonder if they got a good trade for me. What do you think, Nervardia?
Oh, they lost out big time.
I think it's important to talk about what we believe because others help us see the errors in our thinking and help us grow in learning more true things and helping us weed out falsehoods and bad ideas. The problem with Answers in Genesis and Ken, they will tell you to only listen to ideas that agree with their book. If it disagrees with the Bible, it's wrong, so don't listen. You can't grow in truth if you only listen to one side. You can only grow in confirmation bias. If this is sinful, so be it.
Again, if you haven't seen Godless Granny, aka Kelly, please go and check out her channel. She does great stuff and is as feisty as they come. And if you are here because of Kelly, or if you've just randomly come onto my channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much. And don't forget, don't give yourself the raw prawn.
Oh, I wish I could remember this fucking accent. Every time an evolutionist looks at the platypus, I think God's... Every time, beaver-like tail, webbed feet, beaver-like tail, webbed feet. Oh God, how did I do it before? Claws like a reptile. There we go.